Hello there. Welcome to the fourth installment of BrowserStack Originals. We've had phenomenal responses to the previous three editions of this, and we're very excited to have you all here. In this session, we have some of the senior most leaders of product and marketing divisions at BrowserStack. Here, my name is Arvind Aluri. I head the Automate products here. We have Anand Subbaraman, the SVP of Product and Design. Uday Tekumalla, he heads Global Product and Corporate Marketing. Snehal Thakkar, she heads Product Strategy. This is a phenomenal set of leaders that we have here with many years of experience across product and marketing disciplines. In the session today, we're going to talk about three sections. The first section is how BrowserStack is headed, where BrowserStack is headed on this product blitzscaling journey. The second section talks about the culture and the values here at BrowserStack. And the third section is about careers in product and marketing. Okay. Before we dig in, a few quick housekeeping items. Today's event will be for 60 minutes. We'll split it between Q&A session with the panelists that I just introduced you. And we'll take Q&As or questions from the audience in the second latter half of this session. This webinar is being recorded. All participants will be muted to enable speakers to present without interruptions. Note that this recording will be made available to all attendees. And like I said earlier, the questions can be submitted in the Q&A window at any time. And once we're done with the panelists, we'll pick up those questions and we'll discuss those. Let's get going. Let's first talk about BrowserStack now, right? Anand, as the head of product and design, where are we now in the product journey at BrowserStack? What is the mission and vision of BrowserStack?
Sure. Thank you, Arvind. First of all, great to have all of you on this Originals. I'm Anand. I've been with BrowserStack for a year. I run product design and also run marketing. And I have seen up close in the last 1 year what an amazing company that's been built by Ritesh and Nakul. I've been in the technology industry for about 25 years, and I can see that when they built this company over a decade back, the focus was by a developer for a developer. And that ethos permeates the company now and well into the future. The product set that we started building a decade back was on Live, which is really on manual testing across cross browsers. A best-in-class product, a true PLG product out of India, product-led growth product out of India, a true one, which came out for the enterprise SaaS world, took the testing world by storm. To that, we have added multiple products, an amazing real device cloud across 17,000 devices, which allows for mobile web and app testing frictionless for any developer, and visual testing and more. And that scale journey, we are at a very, very high point now that we are now looking to transcend with 2025 new products. Again, with the same fundamental principles, deep thought, solve deep problems, focus on the developer first in testing and beyond. And we aim to scale it at a rate of 20-25 products every year, adding a few $1 billion of TAM to our portfolio, right? Every single year. And that's our goal. That's our aspiration.
Very, very exciting, Anand. It's very exciting to see the growth journey that BrowserStack has experienced so far, and it's just the beginning, right? So switching over to you, Uday, as head of some of the marketing functions. Who is the target persona for BrowserStack products?
Great, Arvind, and thanks everyone for joining. Target persona, see, we look at persona from two different lenses. So the first lens is more from the standpoint of who are the users that we go after. And the second lens is that of a buyer. So our user personas tend to be to your typical developers, your QA engineers, sometimes even product managers, right? People who are anybody who's involved in that entire process of building and shipping the product out. Because anybody who's dealing with the product and making sure that the product is working as it was originally intended to, as it was originally thought about, as it was designed for actually, right? So that is your user persona. And then coming from a buyer persona standpoint, these are your personas that would be involved in the entire process of decision making. And this is where it gets interesting for us, right? So here also developers and QAs are considered buyers because we do tend to enable online purchases, and it is a self-serve product. So as a result, they do tend to be our buyer personas as well. However, in a larger company or in a larger account or in a larger where the deal sizes are certain size or higher, you'd be looking at a manager, a QA manager or a dev manager, an engineering manager, or a director level persona, right? So it could be somebody who's leading a QA team of, let's say, 50, 100 people, right? Or leading a developer and an engineering team of 50 to 100 people. They would be involved in the entire decision-making process as well. So it really varies about, from product to product. Like Anand identified, we do have quite a few different products in our kitty right now and definitely expanding very rapidly, right? So I expect that to grow as well. But for starters, these are the kind of personas that we really target at this point.
Great. Thanks for that. But what are the key differentiators of BrowserStack's offerings?
Oh, that's too many to enumerate because then I'll get into each product level thing. So what I'll do is maybe I'll give you a high level overview at a BrowserStack level, right? Things that make us successful and how we have been successful in building this massive rocket ship that continues to grow 11 years down the lane, right? See, the first and foremost that comes to mind is the scale at which we have built up, the scale at which we are operating with over 6 million developers who've touched our products and used our products, with over 50,000 customers that we've had till date. Like, scale is amazing. And how we enable that, and that's not just the customer momentum, right? The scale actually comes from the product and the infrastructure that we've built out to enable that. We have about 19 different global data centers. Anand alluded to the large, massive 20,000 plus devices that we offer, right? So all of these things really help us get to that scale, which helps us build on top of that for each product. That scale then leads into a different differentiator, which is that of latency, right? So we are able to help our customers out with things like latency, because a large part of these companies have their shops in India, and we're one of the very few, probably the only one, who has a data center in these parts. So, right, so that reduces that quite a bit. And security, you cannot ever ignore security as a factor when you're dealing with infrastructure or app dev or DevOps. That's the core of it. Pretty much have a whole host of certifications there. And something that is always a concern when talking about all these mobile devices, and mobile is our strength, right? So so when talking about mobile devices, you don't, and if you've gone, let's say you opened up an app, you've opened up your app and you've tested on it, you want to make sure that the data that you're testing your app with does not get left behind. And that is something that we do we offer you a pristine device. We do a complete clean wipe and we offer it to you. So, apart from certifications, SOC 2, Type 2 compliance, I mean, I can rattle off a whole bunch of certifications, but the key part is that these are some of the reasons why customers choose us.
Thanks for a very comprehensive answer there, Uday. No, that I think hopefully paints a good picture of where BrowserStack is now, what products we have in the market, and where we are headed. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about culture at BrowserStack. This is where I want to bring in Snehal. She's been here for a very long time here at BrowserStack. I'd love to hear her perspective as she wore many hats, building teams from scratch over these years. Snehal, let me start with the culture, values, and the evolution, right? Like, as somebody who's been here for a while, what, according to you, are the key cultural traits that have stayed constant and ones that have evolved in the recent environment, right? As the organization now has grown to more than 1,000 people worldwide.
Hey, thanks, Arvind, and thanks for saying I've been here for a very long time as well. Hello, everyone. So yes, to answer your question, the traits that I have seen that have remained constant and that have now become more like a subconscious for all of us is the customer obsession with which we build anything we go after. It always starts with, okay, what are users facing? What problem for the user are we solving? And what we build, are we solving it? Are the users happy with what we are giving them? The second is, are we solving real problems, not good have and nice to haves? Are we solving something that's real for them? The third is, the intellectual horsepower that I see. I'm working with smart people from day one, and I continue to do that. I work with people whom I learn from every day. So being with the best is another core principle that has stuck with us for over the years, even as we scale to more than 1,000 employees. Now, obviously, as we've grown from 35, 35 is when, by the way, I joined in. At that point, it was 33 engineers and 2 non-engineers, me and the CEO being the non-engineers. Well, we also have an engineering degree and backgrounds, but we were more focused on the product and the business side of it. Just going back to, Anand's point on the developer mindset that we have, that's how the company is actually built, by developers for developers, right? So yeah, basically, as I've seen the company evolve from 35 to 1,000 plus now, what I've seen people evolve is everyone's now learned to embrace constraints, because as you evolve, you start looking at different problems that you then start embracing. You start showing some empathy towards them and start solving for them. And the second thing that I have seen, which has been instrumental, and the evolution that I've seen, is been building trust and collaborating. Because as you scale, you're no longer going to be the only person who's going to be able to move a significant needle. It's always going to be teamwork. It's always going to be working with others and getting it done. And yeah, those are the two things that I have seen evolve.
That's phenomenal, especially the story about you and the CEO, Ritesh, being the only non-engineering folks, right? We've come a long way from that. Uday, this is kind of, as somebody that has joined relatively new compared to Snehal, right? And you worked across various products, B2B, B2C. You worked in the US. You've now working in India. What surprised you the most as somebody that has this wealth of experience that have joined relatively recently?
Oh, that's a great question, Arvind. See, joining a company that is still in such a blitzscaling mode, what I did not expect coming in was the culture of documenting everything. We generally, even in much more mature setups, we don't take care of that as much, right? We don't actually take the effort to document what is it that we are doing, why are we doing it, why did we make a certain decision, and you know how it goes, right? Like 2 years, 3 years down the line, you'll forget what you decided and you'll try to go back and you probably repeat the same mistakes. That gets a lot lessened when things are documented, and that surprised me a lot. And that is core to our values, that is core to the culture here at BrowserStack, is we take the effort to actually document things properly. And as such, decision making also happens off of that. So it's not just that decision happens in these kind of setups, right, where we are on video and we decide and then we go back and try to document it post fact. That's not it. The entire thing is actually well enmeshed in our DNA, and everything happens via documentation. And that initially it took a while to get used to it, I'll admit it, but I love it. I love it because it helps us go back and think through, okay, what was the core purpose? Why did we start this project? And oftentimes I have seen that happen too. Midway in a project, and if we start going off in too many directions, we go back to what is the problem statement again? Can we go back? And it helps us, catch ourselves rather than go down a different path.
And absolutely, I agree with that. I mean, having worked, in the Seattle area and whatnot, I mean, the Amazon, like writing first culture, it's not just for continuity and looking backwards. As you're making decisions, the writing culture helps bring clarity to your own thought.
Absolutely.
Right. So I totally agree with you there. Cool.
What's your take there, Arvind? You're also a relative newbie compared to stalwarts like Snehal.
No, so I kind of completely agree with what you said there, Uday. Just to add on, couple of things, right? One, couple of things, like somebody asked me, so Arvind, you're close to wrapping up a year. What are some things, like how do you look back? Two things. First is culture and the values, and it's not just something that's just written down. People live those, right? And you see that in day-to-day interactions on how people approach problem solving, how people interact with each other, how people push back. No matter how junior you are, you have a valid point, you feel empowered to kind of push back because you have a valid point, you've thought it through. That's one. And kudos to the founders for kind of building that kind of a culture, nurturing it, right? The second is the quality of the people. Like, we kind of, anywhere you look around, world-class talent, right? World-class talent at all levels. And it's phenomenal. I mean, you have a good culture going and you have great people. Frankly, everything else is execution, right? You just, good things come out of that kind of, that pot. That's what I feel.
Oh, very well said. The people part especially amazes me, the quality of people here.
Yeah, indeed. Great. How are we doing on the time? Okay, we're good. I think we're doing good on time. So let's switch to the third section, which is careers at BrowserStack, right? Uday, coming back to you, because we have product and marketing leaders, and you're a specialist. What does a career in marketing look like for especially for a developer-first organization such as BrowserStack and the products that we are doing? Hey, Uday, can't hear you.
Better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So no, I'm saying that's a very interesting question because see, this is something that we talked about the user buyer personas, right? And I think what strikes you first when you get into this dev first mentality is that in a lot of cases, your users and the buyers are the same people. So they start melding together. And this is different from how you generally do marketing in other companies or in other personas where you're dealing with different types of personas, right? Because they're not always the same and you're used to thinking about them very differently, but you have to think about them differently, but you have to think about them the same as well, right? So that adds a whole layer of complexity. Second is your typical marketing activities. I'll probably give you a couple of examples here. Your typical marketing activities have to be done slightly differently in the sense that copywriting, okay? You're writing copy for the website or you're writing a blog or a PDF doc, whatever, right? At least those of us who've been around the industry, we're used to a certain style. Okay, you have to have an intro, then you have to flesh out the problem, then you will talk about your solution, then there is a summary. You know what, when you're talking to developers, all that doesn't work. You have to get straight to the point. And that part, it takes a while to get used to if you're not, thinking of it that way already. Same thing with events, right? Very different example here. Events also, you tend to focus more on, oh, pipeline generating event, this is a progression event, and how do you you have a projector and you have how do you set up the event as well? Whereas developer focused companies would be a lot of hands-on keyboard because you're doing something as an instructor and your attendees are actually trying it out real time right there. So some of these things are different, like you have to think about it differently because your target persona is very different. And the other angle to that, if we have time, are we okay?
Yeah, we have time. We're doing good. Yeah.
It's this whole thing about we are a PLG company. We're a product-led growth company, right? That is in our DNA. That's been who we are, who we were. That's who we are. And we'll continue going down that route. And this is where it impacts all the functions, right? Especially because when you're a PLG company, your website is your playground. And in a way, it actually makes life easier, right? You don't have to think about, oh, you have to go source this list or you have to do advertising here, you have to do, like 15,000 other things. Your playground is your website. And you start, and not oftentimes you don't always end there because there is a sales funnel, but you'd marry those two up. So it brings its own set of unique challenges, which makes it fun.
Awesome. No, in terms of kind of, we are growing across the board, right? In marketing, again, the specialist roles in product marketing, in growth, in other aspects. So you want to mind touching up a little bit on kind of, we're all we're growing and looking for talent.
Oh, absolutely. So right now, I think in the next few months, we'll be looking to grow both of our product content and a little bit on the brand side. We're definitely going on the growth side, demand gen. So at this point, see, we are in such an exciting phase of our journey that pretty much every functional area that you look at within marketing, we are growing. Yes, of course, we have built up some really strong capabilities in certain areas, but that doesn't mean we are done. Because like Anand said, we are planning to grow our product base heavily. So as such, the need for product marketers and people supporting those functions will be heavy. Growth is going to be an area that we're investing in heavily as well. That's core to our business.
Great, great. On the product building front, Snehal, what does a career in product building look like at BrowserStack? What are some of the areas, new products, existing products? Anything that you can throw a light on there, please.
Sure. I think I'll answer it in two ways. One is what we look for generally, what a career progression at product in BrowserStack look like. And secondly is, how we are thinking about it in our probably current existing products and our new product lines as well, right? So I think purely from a product management capability perspective, what we look for is we definitely look for a developer background, because this is not a persona you can just read up and understand to build things. It's not like, hey, you're any B2C or company or a B2B company doing something that touches a regular consumer, which is easy to read up. For a developer, what is it? What's his psyche? What all tools and what is his entire lifestyle in terms of his product usage looks like? That needs to be understood very well. So you definitely need to have a developer background. You don't need to be hands-on coding per se, but you need to understand their mindset. You need to be on top of what are the new technologies that are available, how they impact, how market is moving. Keeping all these things in mind for sure. Apart from this, it's mostly things we have in our core principles is, really analytical thinking. You need to deep dive into everything you do. You need to solve real problems, right? These are a few capabilities in product that we look for. And in terms of the products themselves, I think the stage at which our existing products are, they are more in a maturity scale up zone where the MVP is established, the products are definitely matured, we have covered, we are the market leaders, but we haven't entirely captured the entire market that's there. So I think the hustle there is, or the answers we are trying to find there is, how do we go about doing that? And in new products, it's a different thing, right? It's 0 to 1 basically. How do we go about building the basic MVPs which are still successful? I think the notion of how we build MVPs has also evolved. Now, when we look at our MVPs, also need to start being successful the moment they hit the ground. It's no longer just about, hey, build these these 5-7 features and we'll be good. I don't think minimum viable product is a thing anymore. I think a minimum successful product is a thing that we are looking at in BrowserStack right now.
Awesome. Great, great. So I think we have 3 or 4 more minutes. Any closing thoughts, Anand? Maybe you can take us home with this one before we open it for audience Q&A. Anything else you want to add on in terms of somebody considering, coming and working at BrowserStack? What should they expect?
Sure. Thanks, Arvind. I think Uday and Snehal and yourself, you covered a lot of it, right? I think we are in the midst of a massive scale up of our product design, documentation, and marketing function. A year back, we were probably 1/3 the size of where we are today. And the end of next year will be 3 times the size of where we are today, right? And that's once in a lifetime opportunity, right? For aspiring product managers, designers, technical writers, marketeers, right? To join a company at this stage of its evolution. When I look at people look to hire, I look at the 3 I's: intensity, integrity, and intellect. And I can assure you that that's the same three things that you will use a lot when you are with us, right? You'll use your intellect, a lot of deep problem solving. That's the ethos and the fabric of the company. Integrity goes no further. For any of you who have been in the industry for a very long time, I can tell you that the only thing that makes people go the distance is integrity. And that's a very important piece, right? And intensity. I mean, prepare yourselves for an intense ride. I mean, Snehal has seen through it for the last, I don't know, 7 to 10 years, right? Depending on our two stints. Uday and Arvind have seen it for the last year, right? And it is intense because we believe we are going to make history. We do. We believe that the world belongs to the developer. We believe that the tools that we're going to make to enable testing and beyond for developers is going to make history. We want the brightest and the best to be a part of this journey and the experience itself.
Awesome, awesome. Great response, and a great way to take it home, Anand. Thanks a lot. We'll open it up for audience Q&A, and we'll pick them up as they flow into us. In the meantime, I believe there's a survey for the participants. Please, there should be a survey that also popped up. If you don't mind clicking a response there, please. Yes, no. Thank you. Yeah. So any audience questions that have come in?
Arvind, the Q&A panel has some questions.
Yeah, I just saw that. So I saw one. Does BrowserStack only look at functional aspects of testing? Well, NFRs like performance, consistency, scalability, security also be part of the offering?
Let me answer this, right? I mean, look, we started with infrastructure testing and we are expanding our testing portfolio dramatically, right? So assume that people who are part of the journey, you'll see us build lots of products across this domain, which solve for complicated testing problems, be it automated, be it manual, be it many others, which I'm not at the liberty of speaking about right now.
Next one, how do product managers at BrowserStack ensure differentiability with respect to Postman test grade in terms of scalability, flexibility, etc.?
I think two parts, right? We have built out a very scalable infrastructure, right, with our own cloud, our own public cloud across data centers, across regions. And we have built some very unique technology IP that allows for millions of sessions to happen in parallel on our grid, right? We are probably the largest grids in many of the spaces that we operate in, right? So we built a lot of unique technical IP. Now, how do product managers help it? Obviously, product and engineering work hand in hand. And the product managers intrinsically think of scale. It's a part of how the product manager wiring is, as Snehal was explaining. She worked with Ritesh very closely in her early years, right? And the important point is do it once, do it right, do it for scale. It's a part of the DNA. So you see that thinking, that deep research, lots more time is spent in defining the problem than in the actual implementation of it. Because if you define the problem right, you find the right solution, the implementation is just mechanics. That's the belief. So a lot of those things are the DNA which product managers learn, and it's quite intense.
Got it. Cool. The next question is, since BrowserStack is a product-led growth company, what are the key indicators BrowserStack looks at to understand which new products it needs to build?
Snehal, as the head of strategy, do you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. So what we look for is when we look at acquisitions, right? We look at the market that we play in currently. We look at what are the markets that are adjacent to us. We look at products and problem areas for our developers, right? Because we are a very developer-first company. So we look at the problem areas for developers in a very bottom-up motion, where they can try themselves and do it themselves. So that's how we look at it. We look at the current market, our adjacent markets, and then based on where they sit in our overall vision of us expanding into the testing platform and beyond, we take calls based on that. But yeah, I mean, when we look at certain product evaluations, obviously, is the market growing? Do we see, is it matured or is it emerging? And what are the true differentiators in that area? How can we cause a disruption if we're going to build something there? We need those answers. How can we win in that market? We need those answers before going about doing anything.
Got it. I think, Snehal, you can take the next one too. Do you have a separate product owner role from the product management role? If yes, what's the thinking and how do you differentiate the work?
So, product owner, if I'm not wrong, is more like the person who drives the go-to market or is responsible for the overall business. We call them general managers. And product managers are purely people who are responsible for managing and evolving the entire product line. They are responsible for the revenue, but not really accountable for the revenue that comes in. So I would say we partially work in the product owner and product manager. We work somewhere in the middle. We don't have like a pure general manager shop. We don't have those people yet. But the product directors or the product management leaders, the ones who own the product part of product management part of the product, are definitely responsible for the business. So they work very closely hand in hand.
Got it. Uday, this you can probably take a stab at this one. Do you have separate teams for product management and product growth? How do the skill sets differ across these roles?
Yeah, I would love to have Snehal and Anand jump in as well, and yes, we do. So there is a completely separate growth team, which takes care of all of our growth marketing efforts. And that is the team that is responsible for a lot of the experimentation, right? So some of the things that Snehal just talked about in terms of the business, that is a split responsibility in terms of driving revenue with that team as well. So these are the folks who come in with it's a dual marketing and a product role. So that's why we look at it differently. We call it growth marketing here at BrowserStack. And what they are responsible for is making sure that our online sales and our self-service, right, those kind of channels are being fulfilled. So that requires a lot of understanding of how the web works, how search works, what kind of people are coming in, what are the conversion rates on each of the pages. Are we able to, sometimes changing things like, some small little change on a website, on a web page makes a huge difference in conversion. So those are the kind of experiments that they keep running day in, day out. But Snehal, you've done that for a long time. Anand, you lead that. So would love to get your thoughts on that as well.
Snehal?
Sure. So yeah, I think in terms of the overall experimentation model, right? There's basically in marketing, under marketing, which is generally responsible for not just demand gen, but also a good part of revenue. There are growth teams and online sales team, which are partners. Because we are a PLG motion, the growth experiments that are run are also very much in that domain. That doesn't mean we are just restricted to that, because we also have a very decent sales down motion for a few products. What you choose, when you choose, I think for the audience, I would recommend reading up Reforge. That's a material which is best in class. They've defined models and frameworks of how you should be thinking depending on the kind of product you're building, the kind of market you are in, the kind of distribution or channels you will have to take that to market, and how you can price them. I think a lot of those questions, I see quite a few chats around that in the thread. I think if you read that up, it'll be very helpful even for you to probably go into these roles of product and growth.
Got it. So Anand, maybe for you, because it's a follow-up to your answer, what does BrowserStack look for in a product manager apart from being inquisitive, curious, and integral, like Anand iterated?
Sure. I think those are foundational attributes, right? Beyond that, we look for problem-solving abilities. And it depends on the level of product management that we are looking at, right? If you're entry level, obviously, we put more accent on some of the foundational attributes. If you're coming into a mid to senior, we look for what, obviously, about your problem-solving skills, how you manage stakeholders, how you manage teams. And one thing I must tell you about the interview process, everybody, including myself, have to do a case study, right? That's a part of it, right? So be prepared, right? And it is quite, as I said, it's an intellectually stimulating interview process. It's rigorous. And we do have a panel which looks at your problem solving those things. So I think it varies a level in terms of that, Jatin, to your question. And I think you had a follow-up question on the number of products, Jatin, in a slowdown. Actually speaking, in a slowdown is the greatest time to build product. I mean, as simple as that. I've been through a couple of them in my lifetime already, in 2000, 2001, 2008. And I've seen that a lot of great companies, great products come out at that time, right? Because you actually get the time to build it right, without having a disproportionate market pressure. So you're allowed to experiment, you're allowed to innovate, you just have more freedom. So, and that's really why we are doubling down at this point of time. Actually, I would call it tripling down. So.
Great. What else? Does content marketing play an important role in your growth funnel? Maybe Uday, you can take that one.
So let me just
Yeah.
take quickly, right? So I think the answer is yes, right? I mean, it's a very important flywheel in our entire growth journey, right? So content is very, very important. It's very integral. People come in a PLG company, word of mouth is one flywheel coming in, content is one more that leads into various purchase or intent decisions, right? So of course, so we do have roles open for content marketing as well.
Right. How do you keep the security of the data intact when scaling up your product or service?
Why don't you take it up, Arvind? You own that piece.
No, I think, there are certain foundational aspects of the product architecture, right? At the foundational are certain non-negotiable things that need to scale, whether it's the identity layer, whether it's the security layer, whether the data, integrity layer. And the scale at which we operate across our mainline products, we have 50,000 customers, right? Using it at massive scale across the board, from individual developers to mid-scale customers to very large enterprises. We have some of the largest banking and financial sector customers using our product. So which means that the product has gone through the grill of vetting compliance, vetting security, due diligence, GDPR and whatnot. And which is why we have some of the largest, Fortune 500 organizations using us. So we do that, we take that very seriously at our foundation layer. One, to keep it compliant, to keep the compliance refreshed. And also as we build new products, they're adhering to these, right? Because we are building products for the world for scale, right? And that's our mindset, and that's non-negotiable. Okay, what else? Yeah, I covered compliance, I guess. How do product managers at BrowserStack balance intuition and data-centric decisions? How is the situation with the lack of data to take the decisions handled?
Snehal, do you want to take it?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorites in general. So yeah, we don't, you know, data never gives you answers. Data never, it just gives you some sort of an insight. The real why is still to be done with a thorough qualitative analysis, and nothing better if you have a chance. There's no powerful insight you'll get, especially being a product manager, than to talk to a customer. I think the amount of customer interviews BrowserStack product manager does, we truly live by being customer obsessive culture, right? So that's how you balance it. And second is you start looking at it in a more smarter angle, which is you don't get all the straightforward data you need. You try to start finding proxies to the data that will help you take decisions. And to know those proxies, you need to understand the behavior. And for you to understand the behavior well, you need to talk to them, right? So that's how we go about it. Or I personally go about it.
No, it's a very insightful answer, Snehal. Uday, maybe this one's for you. Does the marketing team utilize tailored messaging targeting buyer personas based on what industry they are in, like media, entertainment, financial services, etc., in order to ultimately drive new buyer prospects in the pipeline? Or does the team see success using more standardized messaging when targeting all buyers across all industries?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think, see, our genesis is we started off with more of the horizontal messaging, because we are more of a horizontal player, right? We're not just restricted to any one particular industry. Having said that, we are now experimenting with getting into more industry-based messaging, vertical-specific messaging, and back to, I think it came out in our discussion, right? It's a very experimentation-driven culture that we have. And that's exactly what we're experimenting. So we'll see how that experiment grows out. And if it's successful, we'll roll it out larger. If it's not, we'll scale back, right? So that's still under, we were actually targeting a few accounts and doing some, I think some 7 or 8 different industries that we are targeting, and we are trying to see how that thing plays out. So literally in the midst of that experimentation right now.
Got it. I think I can take the next one. It says, I wish to understand if a person with a QA background in a product company has a chance to break into product management at BrowserStack. The answer is yes. Obviously, you'll have to go through the same template of interviewing process, but really the fundamentals of what we look for are the same, the ones that Anand laid out, right? You need to have the raw skills, and you need to have the growth mindset, right? For sure. We've had what we've seen is we do have a few people in the product org that have made the transition from a QA role into product management, and especially at BrowserStack, where products are talking to the end user is a developer or a QA persona. A person that has played a role of an SDET or a QA persona can actually empathize with the user. So it's an advantage for somebody that has been there, done that, lived through that to potentially play a product role. And we do have a few examples of those in our organization. So we encourage people with those kind of profiles.
If I may jump in, Arvind, you don't just have to look at a product management role. You can look at a product marketing or a marketing role as well. We have a gentleman on our team who started off his career as a manual tester and then has moved into marketing and is thriving as a marketer. And he joined us, recently joined BrowserStack in the marketing team.
Yep, indeed. PM role requires a lot of collaboration with different teams. What processes, practices do PMs at BrowserStack follow to ensure effective collaboration in a remote setup, such as BrowserStack?
Sure, Arvind, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. I can. You guys can chime in. See, look, as we scale, part of a PM role is collaboration, is stakeholder management, and I think we're still growing through the journey of how to strike a right balance and have the right set of processes. because we want to keep our startup DNA and not overload it with too much red tape necessarily. But as we scale up, good processes are necessary. Good processes, good practices. And one of the examples is our writing first culture, really, right? Because that's kind of in the DNA of the company. You write, you think through your problems, you're not shooting from the hip, right? And for any decision that you need, you collaborate with your stakeholders on, we use Confluence all the time, right? That's the most popular tool at BrowserStack by far. And that's kind of how you scale up. And we kind of also, as we scale up, looking to decentralize our decision making, right? So we kind of, and we follow OKRs, top down, objectives and key results. We've taken some of the best practices from world-leading companies such as Google, right? How we have company-wide OKRs at a business level that flow down to different departments and organizations. So, and that gets married with bottom-up planning as we plan our quarterly, quarterly deliverables, right? So, I mean, we're not perfect, we're learning, we're iterating, but really we have a growth mindset, which means we're constantly looking for feedback for improving these processes and improving our collaboration, right? And we need people with that kind of a collaborative mindset for us to help succeed. Does BrowserStack use AI ML based metrics tools to understand what kind of innovations can be brought in to the products or services?
I think it's the question is, let me try and see if I can answer with the spirit of the question, right? AI ML are foundational technologies and they are getting better every day. But they've been around for a long time with all kinds of NLP models and so on. And truth be told, we've got our visual testing product in Percy, which uses a lot of ML-based models to do visual diff comparisons. We have products in analytics that does look at big data and solves big data problems. We use a variety of techniques and tools for that, right? And absolutely, right, as the technology and tools evolve and we find the right use case for it in our product set, we will, right? We don't go to a technology, as our founders keep reminding us, a shiny object syndrome, right? We are not going towards a shiny object, right? We want to see if we can legitimately use it and add value to our developers, make our products much more compelling. Yes, right? There are plenty of shiny objects in the industry today. So
yeah, solve real problems is one of the core principles, and we start from that. Maybe time for one more question, one or two more, and we'll wrap it up. What will the opportunity and career progression look like for demand gen marketers?
Oh, interesting. Listen, so this is an area that we are investing in now, right? So demand gen marketers, and as a function also, we are building it out. We are experimenting again, back to our experimentation, right? So there are a lot of experiments going on within BrowserStack right now in the marketing space for sure. There's also an area that we'll be experimenting. And as for opportunity, I mean, it's going to be a standard demand gen opportunity, right? You come in as a campaign manager, program manager, you figure out what kind of, you'll have a pipeline target that you have to meet across different segments, and then go figure out what kind of programs you need to run in order to meet those targets. What will make this more interesting and make it more challenging is that you need to intersect that with the overall PLG funnels as well. It's not just a thing that you can do in isolation. Having said that, career progression wise, I think something that we are looking at looking at bringing forth soon is also, as we are growing the team, because now we have a sizable marketing team, is how do you get people to maybe rotate across different functional areas, right? Because within marketing, you have 3 or 4 different functional areas that require very different skill sets. And especially for those of you who are early stage marketers or looking to get into a marketing career, that would be interesting, exciting, because you want to get exposed to different types of marketing roles. So that's something that we are still talking about. To be honest, that's not been a problem. It's not it's that huge a team. But as we grow, that would be one of the areas that we look at.
Maybe the last question and we'll wrap it up. Do you have separate teams for product management and product growth? how do the skill sets differ across these roles?
I think we already answered this question, right? To be clear, we have growth once more, right? And they look at the intersection of, I would call it online sales, marketing, and product, clearly looking at the funnel, looking at what kind of experiments you can use from a PLG for us, making a PLG sales motion succeed, right? They don't have to be deep in product, but they do need to know enough about product, right? And that's very important from a growth manager. There's a typical mindset is more experiment, fail fast. I would call it a lot of B2C product managers actually fall into the growth umbrella typically, because that's what really happens. The product manager for us, and we are a deep tech company, so you got to be technical, right? And I cannot reinforce that enough, right? Our products are technical. One thing I think we probably did not touch upon earlier is the fact that we do need people who have a background in engineering or coding before they turn product managers is a very important asset to us. Because we make, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are products for developers by developers. So by corollary, all our product managers have been developers in the past. I have been, Arvind has been, Snehal has been, Uday has been in marketing as well. So it's a very interesting thing, right? So you are a deep tech engineer turned product manager is where the product manager is. And that's very important to us. So that's your piece. In fact, even in the product marketing function, you don't need to be you don't need to have a coder background per se before being a marketeer, but you need to understand technology well enough to articulate that mission statement, right? And the same thing happens in our design piece, right? We do look at visual design for aspects of it, which transcend into the website and so on. But a lot of the product design work is actually designing products for developers. The mindset also has to be think like a developer in a design world. And the same thing is true with our technical writers, right? They need to understand docs as code, right? And that's really where we go with technical writers, because they need to know how to write markup language, right? It's not a simple user documentation that our PMs can do, right? So I think I would really want to re-emphasize this, right? That across the spectrum, we go deep in tech, and growth is different from product management, is different from product marketing, which is different from design and tech writing. So
great. Thanks for rounding it off, Anand. I think we are at time. Apologies for there were more questions we couldn't cover, but the team will follow up with this recording and how you can get to know more about BrowserStack. Very thankful for being part of this BrowserStack Originals. Thank you very much, Anand, Snehal, Uday, and the team behind the scenes for setting this up. And thanks to all the participants for the excellent questions. Looking forward to engaging with you, hearing from you. Thank you very much.
bye.
Thank you, everyone.